This week on Hermitcraft.
Time-lapse music. Time-lapse.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft Recap. My name is Pixelriffs, our writer is ZloyXP, and the days of slacking are over. The tag game has officially returned to the Hermitcraft server. This time, keeping track of it will be easier though, since Azuma has finally built the tag headquarters. The building resides not far from Convex's lands, and each freshly tagged person now has to go and add him or herself to the long list of dunce heads. A list that, to remind you, goes like this: Grian, Doc, Mumbo, Grian, Iskall, Cub, Scar, Impulse, Zedaf, Tango, Cub, Azuma, Evil Azuma, Azuma again, and now Tango.
You won't believe this, right? But this whole thing, it was a ruse. Thanks for watching, peeps. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
If you think this means the end of Recap Tag, you'd be almost right, because starting this week, we'll be putting Recap Tag at the end of the video instead of at the beginning, just so you won't have to leave mid-recap and then come back to watch the rest of our video. Stay tuned to the end of today's video for this week's shenanigans. For now, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week.
Anyway, moving on from details in walkways and things like that, he scared the... that scared me so much.
Starting with Mumbo, who seems to have adopted Iskall's Snowball Bumbo as some sort of personal deity, being held up by the now completed power beam in the center of his base. The power beam can also levitate players now, with a fully functional water elevator inside of it to get Mumbo up to the storage area without the need for rocket jumping with Elytra. The island below the Mumball starts to take shape this week, with the foundations of a city rising from the ground, starting with a pearly white nether portal room. But perhaps Mumbo's greatest achievement this week is the spoiler shop. A blockier version of his base rises from the shopping district, and a lot of hermits wander in to take a look, which was their first mistake, because the only product this shop sells is shame.
Congratulations, you just bought a spoiler. As you are reading this book, it is clear you have shown spoilers, and thus you must pay for what you have taken.
3 diamonds must be deposited in the chest immediately. Come again soon. Oh no, what did we do?
I want the refund, Grian.
Upon reading the book inside, they're informed that Mumbo hasn't released an episode about it yet. They've just spoiled the shop, and they owe Mumbo 3 diamonds for interfering in his business. Which, now that we come to think of it, we've just spoiled the shop. Technically now, we both owe Mumbo 3 diamonds each, so we're putting out a service of our own. If anyone on the Hermitcraft server wants to pay our debt of 6 diamonds to Mumbo's shop, we will, create a 15-second infomercial for you in the next episode of the recap. Offers open.
Oh man, I love the block swapper though. Good job on that.
Not to be bamboozled with, Wells Knight actually takes action against the shop/trap, and being the helpful fella that he is, covers up the entirety of the spoiler shop with dirt, just to make sure no one can ever spoil it again. This being a pro bono service, he of course sends Mumbo an invoice for it. Grian, in the meantime, politely asks for a refund. Wells Knight actually closes his Ushia shop, but not due to its ridiculous fees. It turns out the sheep trapped in it were lagging out the server with their large numbers and continuous pathfinding, and 2 diamonds for Shia's, seriously Wells. To replace it, Wells goes for much more transparent business practices and opens a glass shop. Still colourful enough, and at least it's not yet another season pass. To stock the place, Wells reaches out to the Convex, and particularly Cub Fan, because this week Cub's main contribution to the Convex Concorp lands is a mega smelter the likes of which the server has never seen. This redstone monster is able to produce a full inventory of sand in like half a minute. Funnily enough, this leaves Cub Fan with nothing to smelt, and with nothing in general. It took so much stuff just to build it.
We used up a lot of things here. This is the wall of things, so we had... In addition to the iron, gold, and blue ice, we also ran out of packed ice, obsidian, gold for a second time, cobblestone, and quartz. We actually have no cobblestone.
This time, it actually did cost him everything. Then again, there's many everythings to be had once people find out about the upgrades he crammed into the Guardian Farm AFK setup. Frustrated with Doc trying to season pass a farm Doc didn't even build, Cub created his own service much like the regen beacon for rent, except 3 times bigger and better, with 3 optional beacons for strength, resistance and regen, a comfortable waiting room and some levers for you to flip about. His convex buddy Scar quickly gets into the habit of using the smelter. Scar's main build for the week is a giant volcano island made completely from scratch. Naturally, just throwing dirt and stone at it is not enough, and so for additional pizzazz points, Scar creates an ominous smoke cloud rising from the volcanic throat. Many stars had to align to allow him to do this though, seeing as how the glass was smelted in Cub's monster of a machine, and the black dye for it was bought in False's ink shop, which at that point had barely opened its doors. Not that it has any doors, because yes, the ink shop does look like a giant ink pot, making this the 2nd giant jar shop False has made in Season 6 so far, and the 3rd giant jar shop overall if you count Grian's pickle establishment. Actually inspired by the old Grian diorama, False tries out armor-standing books herself and does well enough to complete her mini-me at Joe Hills' Ministry of Stuff player library.
There you go, Cleo. You've got a request from me. I need to be taught how that works.
Jevin adds to the Hermit Marketplace with a sweet shop, the kind that sells treats and is a treat for your eyes. The Hermits might want to stock up on this stuff as soon as possible though, because basically none of the products are things Jevin can consistently farm, outside of maybe pure sugar. No, the farms Jev invests time into this week are manual crop ones that he eventually plans to swap for a villager-powered one and a tree farm. These cookies are basically a once-in-a-lifetime offer collector's item. But alas, all is not peaceful in Hermitland, and while Jevin is playing around with an underwater ravine, trying out coral and setting up a drowned farm, Azumavoid and Tango Tech have discovered his iron shop and promptly went the full NHO on it. To call out the brutality iron farming inflicts on both villagers and golems, they set up an actual protest group consisting of some villagers, a couple of note blocks and a bunch of stick people to hang out in front of the shop making noise until they get noticed.
Do you want to read these? We've got some amazing slogans.
End unethical iron farming now. Boycott Jevin. Free the villagers from captivity. Hashtag boycott Jevin. Stop burning our golem gardens. Hey, you asked me how to spell it. You still spelled it wrong.
Oh, Jesus. Spell everything.
Cease the use of confusing false village doors.
Wow. That's funny. Oh, this is good, guys. I like this. But this does mean war.
After which both promptly return to their own exploitative practices, which is bad enough with Azuma but especially silly with Tango Tech, as the same person protesting golem slaughter for iron seems fine slaughtering them for the poppies they drop. In all seriousness, the Iron Titan mega farm Tango has started working on is obviously there to farm iron, and with free access to it being one of the large prizes Mr. Tech offered for his Dig My Bits challenge, he'd better hurry it up. All the bits are already successfully dug up in barely a week, proving there's nothing the Hermit kind cannot do when provided with Haste 2 beacons and instant gratification.
So, has somebody already come down here and dug the whole thing out? Seriously now? Oh, good grief.
Or, if you're TFC, you just need a branch mine and a lot of time. And once that time is over, you might as well sell some of the byproducts, which is why the Minetasm shop gets opened right next door to iTrade. Inside, the fruits of TFC's branch mining habits are sold in bulk: stone and decorative stone types, obsidian, and blocks of redstone. Naturally, the Hermits jump at the chance to buy a stack of obsidian for a single diamond, and pretty soon the stock has been cleared out. And while TFC doesn't really need the extra diamonds, he probably appreciates them a little more after losing all his gear in a creeper-related caving incident. Despite this setback, he still spends some time rebuilding the reactor room at the vault and decorating his branch mine with diorite and end rods. Impulse SV doesn't need the extra diamonds either, but gosh darn if he doesn't find another way to make them anyway. Locking up the gold farms so people can still get XP but not access the pigmen drops, Impulse sets up a brand new shop right next door to his other businesses.
All right, there we go. We got a nice humble shop now. It is pretty obvious what is being sold in here.
A nice humble shop that is literally made out of gold. He names it Golden Eye, but we should have been expecting that. Not content with trapping pigmen on the roof of the Nether, Impulse's next venture takes advantage of a new location in the bedrock ceiling that can contain the Wither but leave his head sticking out of the top like a Pez dispenser. But it's actually going to dispense logs, and after a bit of mucking about with redstone-powered pushing things and snowball cannons, the prototype is ready for action. Other hermits, like Python, are still using the Wither for more traditional purposes. Now that Tango's Wither skeleton farm is in full swing, Python sets up 3 more beacons at his underwater base, colour-coded for each of the domes. The result is a full set of beacon effects and a light show that looks like you're trying to summon the Power Rangers. But with Aquatown under Rendog's jurisdiction for the Hermitcraft rail network, Python relocates his idea for a main base to the far reaches of the modern district, where he stakes his claim to a large stretch of land and terraforms it with some quartz pathways, modern lighting, and some fancy-looking concrete lawns. He's also the victim of some incredibly ironic loot boxing, obtaining an iLoot box full of diamond ore after already having set a goal of never mining diamonds this season.
Oh no! I can't mine these up, man! But I intend on selling diamond ores for 2 diamond items per ore, and then I'll provide a fortune pickaxe so they have a chance of getting more ore from it. So yeah, you know, there might be a good return on investment.
Back at the mainland modern district, Joe Hills is still simmering over the mystery of who jingled his mailbox, but determined not to let spammers ruin everyone else's day, he grabs the nearest books and quills and pens a few of his fellow hermits a poem so they'll have something nicer to read than LOL when they check the mail.
It's an original, so I don't know if it's just for me or not, but anyway, let's have a quick read, shall we?
But while the nomadic life suits him well, Joe still needs stock for his upcoming Halloween shop and diamonds to spend at his neighbours' businesses, so he heads back out to the mesa and mines his way through an abandoned mineshaft, grabbing cobwebs and iron in equal measure. Iskall is still working on his own mineshaft, although now it's given him a ton of resources, he's more concerned with making the outside quarry look pretty. An aesthetic elevator tower gets constructed outside, hauling up ore blocks from the depths below, and with that taken care of, he returns to the shopping district to expand the Black Pearl shop with its very own black market. And that means the return of his Hitman for Hire service, this time complete with pointy armor stands. Once again, a hermit's life can be taken from them for the price of a stack of diamonds and a guilty conscience. With that business concluded, he heads over to Mumbo's for another round of end busting, in which they raid end cities until literally the military intervenes.
That's the military warning sound. That's right outside my window.
Wait, hang on.
We gotta take a break here for the next 5 minutes. It's a testing every... Well, I hope it's testing.
No, I'm leaving this in, man. I'm leaving this.
It hurts my face.
So while Iskall is out there not doing much for his icy base, Zedaf actually comes around through his very safe nether bridge and builds an iceberg of his own from scratch. So far it is but a glassy cone with some fish in it, basically a screensaver from the 1990s. But he had to get those fish from somewhere, and Doc M returns to the NHO reservation to catch Zedaf fish-handed. Luckily for Zed, Doc isn't in the mood to dish out punishments right then because he has bigger fish to fry. Not content with taking down the Wither using tridents last week, he and Azuma try to throw forks at the Ender Dragon. Sadly, it seems like throwing one-shot weapons into the infinite void isn't such a good idea, and both X and Doc lose a trident each during the otherwise successful fights.
I'm chilling in the middle, man.
Oh no, my trident's going literally into the void. Dude, no. I think it might go. I think it might disappear, right? Entities die in the void.
Doc still isn't happy though, because the whole point of this exercise was to generate the portal on the direct north of the island, in the hopes that it would appear next to the site where he plans to build a redesigned Enderman farm. So rather than fight the dragon himself, he puts a bounty out on the dragon with a pop-up shop in the commercial district, and whomever generates the northern portal gets to win a fully enchanted trident. An offer on which Jevin instantly takes him up, despite their previous squabbles. Although Jevin might take exception to the fact that Doc has added an end crystal nearby for decoration, which definitely adds to the vibe, but it's only a matter of time before it blows the face off of Jevin's iron shop. To blow off some steam, Doc lures some phantoms into the Nether Hub and tags them "Subscribe to Doc M" as a bit of viral marketing for Phantom Death Run, or just to mess with people. This actually leaves us with not too much to report about Azuma, whose collabs with Doc and Tango we've already kinda covered, but he did convert the furnace service into a plain old kelp shop, so that's something you might want to know if you're in the market for cheap fuel or have a mega furnace to feed. Plus, X set up the tag headquarters, which we mentioned at the top of the show. And now that I think about it, we might as well check up on Zombie Cleo, who we last saw buried under the avalanche of you guys' fish comments. Seriously, that comment section went crazy.
Yeah, they tagged me. They tagged me. And everybody did fish. I'm looking at you, Loy and Pixel. I'm staring right into your souls. That was fine.
Well, Cleo passed on the curse of the recap to Biffa, so click that link in the iCard and let's do a bit of a mind game here. Comment with a random timestamp and say your hopper is facing the wrong way. Because Biffa is apparently determined to get more fish than Cleo's comment section had, and has built an AFK fish farm at build height with collection chests that, last time we saw them, went about halfway back down to his base. I mean, maybe it's because he wants more stock for his bookshop, where mending books are a bestseller, but a year's supply of fish probably doesn't hurt either. In the latter half of the episode, he's late to the bit digging party at Tango's underground area, but that doesn't stop him pitching in to clear some stone out and earning some epic loot in the process. Back to Cleo, she's well into work on the island of Wartortle, this time throwing together a church, which, again, is totally something a bunch of cutthroat pirates are gonna want.
I do like it. It does need Quasimodo, I think. Does need someone in the bell tower.
And finally, there's Grian. And Rendog, don't think he got off without us noticing. The guinea pig services are first called upon by Azuma, who just wanted to troll the Big G, and ended up, well, still trolling him, just in a different manner.
They weren't supposed to attack you.
You just wanted me to die!
Dude, I so thought they weren't going to attack. Well, actually, I was going to troll you, because I didn't expect them to attack me. Then I was going to log out, and then they would have attacked you, but they didn't.
They just went for me anyway.
The chaotic neutral of Grian once again shines through when Scar needs some help killing the Wither, and later Scar and Tango both need some help picking up the Nether Star they managed to lose amidst a crowd of angry pigmen. But it turns out this was not nearly enough to turn his karma around, and it's all downhill from here. First, the old man Grian shopkeeper disappears, leaving only his cane behind. Then, a skeleton horse submarine dies suffocating in cobble at the very entrance into Grian's base. And finally, Rendog. Just Rendog in general.
In the words of Julius Caesar, the trap has been set. Although I'm not sure if Julius Caesar actually said that.
Having discovered the convex undercutting his big log energy, Rendog decides this was over the line. And in amongst all the Big Lebowski references, he singles out the one person who was kind of coerced into helping in the first place, none other than our friendly neighbourhood Grian. So Ren systematically goes about turning Grian's coffee cup into a potted plant, complete with a giant spruce tree in the centre, and while this might at first seem like a bunch of free logs and an invitation to chop them down, the whole thing is rigged to explode with TNT once Grian opens the door at the base. Which he does.
Run. Oh no, I knew it! I knew it! Oh no. There it goes. Oh. At least I don't have to clean that up.
And while many people have pointed out that reminding Grian about the existence of TNT is probably a bad idea, we'll just have to hope for everyone's sake that he's turned over a new leaf. And that's just about it for this week's recap. Our writer is LoyXP, and my name is Pixel Riffs. Do you want to buy some green stuff? Hopefully my server mates do too, because I set up a green stuff shop in my latest Minecraft SMP episode, and a link to that is in the end cards. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.